She came in on a Tuesday morning, an orange tabby named Biscuit, 9 years old, and her owner had done everything right, or so she thought. Biscuit was quietly drying out from the inside, and nobody in that room had the faintest idea. She looked fine. That's the thing. Bright eyes, good weight, a coat you'd want to sink your hands into. But I ran a drop of her urine under the refractometer, and the number came up near the top of the scale, packed and concentrated, the reading of a cat running low on water for a long time. I pinched the scruff of her neck, and it settled back a half-second too slow. Her gums were tacky instead of slick. One hard little clump sat in the litter box for the whole day, and her food bowl was full of dry kibble, the crunchy kind, barely a drop of water in any of it. That's where the kidney trouble starts, the bladder trouble too, the slow theft of years, and it begins at the bowl. Most people think they've handled this. Leave fresh water out. The cat drinks when she's thirsty. Done. You have to remember someone telling you that. You never really learned it, because it isn't true. Cats came up from the desert. They hunted their water inside their prey, and they never built much of a thirst to begin with. Put a cat on dry food, and she will not drink enough at the dish to make up for it. Not even close. Meanwhile, you're buying the premium bag, the fancy fountain, paying the vet when the sudden flare-up lands you back in my exam room. Here's what almost nobody does. The fix costs nothing. It's already in your kitchen. 10 seconds at dinner, and most people won't do it because it looks a little strange. I've spent decades treating animals here in Portland. An old mentor of mine, years back, before the fancy diets and the gadgets, taught me one habit. Thumb a little water into every bowl and watch the litter box change. So, tonight I'll give you the one thing to add, the 3 signs your cat is running dry, and the simple bowl trick you can start at dinner. But stay with me, because the real lesson is bigger. That full water bowl you trust to keep her healthy, it's the very reason so many cats aren't. Let me back up for a second and tell you why your cat is built this way, because once you see it, everything else clicks. Your cat's ancestors came from dry country, wild cats living where water was scarce. They didn't sip from a stream all day. They got what they needed from what they caught, and a mouse or a bird is somewhere around 70 to 80% water on the inside. So over thousands of years, the cat never developed much of a drive to drink. It didn't need one. The prey did the work. Now, look at what's in most bowls today. Dry kibble. Around 10% water, maybe less. Compare that to canned food, which runs about 70 to 80%. Roughly what live prey always gave them. Here's the part that catches people off guard. A cat on dry food does drink a little more from the dish, trying to make up the gap. But she never drinks enough. Study after study shows the cat on dry food takes in less total water for the day than the cat on wet, even with a full bowl sitting right there. So she walks around a little dried out all the time. You can't see it. She acts normal. And that quiet, low-grade dehydration is the soil where the 2 biggest thieves of a cat's life take root: bladder disease and kidney disease. So here is the one thing. Add water straight to the food. That's it. Plain water, stirred right into whatever she already eats. For the fussy ones, a splash of low-sodium broth with no onion and no garlic, or the water from a can of tuna packed in spring water. You mix it into the bowl at mealtime, and she takes the water in while she eats, the way she would have from prey. Now, why is that better than just keeping a water dish full? Because you're not asking a low-thirst animal to change her nature. You're not standing there hoping she chooses to drink more. She won't, but she will eat. And when the water is in the food, hydration stops being a choice she keeps failing and becomes something that just happens. Every meal. No new habit for her to learn. I want to be straight with you about the science here, because this isn't a hunch. It's some of the best studied ground in cat medicine. Start with the urine. When a cat takes in more water, her urine gets more dilute. And dilute urine is the single most protective thing you can do for a cat's bladder. There's a well-known study on cats prone to urinary trouble. The ones fed the high-moisture version of a food had more dilute urine and fewer flare-ups over a full year than the ones fed the exact same food dry. Same recipe. The only real difference was the water. That's how much it matters. And that lines up with something bigger. Of all the things researchers have tested for the most common form of feline bladder disease, the one called idiopathic cystitis, raising water intake through moist food is the one treatment that actually cut the recurrence in controlled studies. Not a supplement, not a gadget, water. And this matters because that condition comes back in as many as half the cats who get it. Cut the odds on that, and you've spared your cat a world of pain. Stones tell the same story. In one look at around 1,300 cats, the ones who formed calcium oxalate stones had been eating drier food, on average, than the healthy cats. Less moisture in the bowl, more trouble in the bladder. The pattern keeps repeating. Then there's the kidneys, and this is the big one for a long life. Dehydration puts real strain on a cat's kidneys, and once those kidneys start to fail, keeping the cat hydrated becomes the whole game. That's why when I catch kidney trouble early, one of the first things I do is push more water into the diet. Moist food, water in the bowl, whatever gets her fluid up. It takes pressure off the organ that's already struggling. There's even a bonus you weren't expecting. Weight. When you add water to food, you're spreading the same calories across a bigger, fuller bowl. The cat feels full on less. Cats fed watered down or canned food tend to eat fewer calories and stay leaner than cats eating the same food dry. And a lean cat lives longer than a heavy one. Plain and simple. So the water helps her kidneys, her bladder, and her waistline all at once. Let me give you a rough target so you're not guessing. Most cats do well taking in somewhere around 40 to 60 milliliters of water per kilogram of body weight a day, counting everything, food and drink together. For a 10-pound cat, that's in the neighborhood of 200 milliliters a day. You don't need to measure it with a syringe. I just want you to see how far short a dry food cat falls and how much of that gap the food itself can close. Now, how do you know your own cat is running dry right now? First, the litter box. A well-hydrated cat leaves you generous, softer clumps and more of them. A dried-out cat leaves a few small, hard, dense ones. If you're barely scooping anything for a whole day, that's your flag. Second, the scruff test. Gently lift the loose skin between her shoulder blades and let go. On a hydrated cat, it drops right back flat. On a dry one, it settles slowly, like it's thinking about it. Tacky gums instead of slick, wet ones back that up. Third, and this is the easy one. If she eats mostly dry food and her water bowl barely goes down day to day, assume she's underhydrated. Doesn't matter how full the dish looks. The full dish is the problem, not the proof. One honest word. These are early warnings for a healthy cat, not a diagnosis. If any of them stick around, you see a vet, and ideally, you get her urine checked. A number on a refractometer beats a guess every time. So, how do you actually do it? Start small and slow, because a cat who gets a shock at dinner will just walk away. Pick one meal. Stir in about a tablespoon of warm water, not hot, warm. The warmth lifts the smell and most cats like that. Over a week or two, work up to a looser, soupier bowl. If you're using kibble and trying to match the moisture of wet food, know that it takes a lot of water, 2 or 3 times the volume of the food, so ease into it. And honestly, the simplest win is to mix the water into wet food or move a meal or two over to wet. You'll get there faster. For the picky ones, that splash of tuna water or plain broth on top works wonders. Use a wide, shallow bowl so her whiskers are jammed against the sides. Skip plastic if you can. Ceramic or steel. Scratched plastic holds bacteria and odd smells that put cats off. And a couple of straight talk cautions. Watered food spoils fast, so pull anything she hasn't finished after about 30 minutes. Don't leave a wet bowl sitting out all afternoon. And if your cat already has a kidney, bladder, or any medical condition, make these changes with your vet, not on your own. Water is powerful medicine, and medicine needs a steady hand. Give it 2 weeks. Watch the litter box change. Bigger clumps, more of them. That's the proof, right there in the tray, that the water is doing its quiet work. Think back to Biscuit, that orange tabby from the start. The fix that would have changed her number was sitting in the kitchen tap the whole time. Free. 1 thing to add, 3 signs to watch, 1 small habit at dinner. That's the whole of it, and it can buy your cat healthy years. If this helped you see the bowl a little differently, subscribe. I put out plain, science-backed ways to keep your animals well. No hype, just what works. Next time I'll show you how to read a litter box the way I do, because those clumps are telling you more than you think.